Biodiversity conservation. What is biological diversity? Sum total of all the variety of living organisms on Earth constitute biodiversity. Biological diversity is usually considered at three different levels: A. Genetic diversity. B. Species diversity. C. Ecosystem diversity. Genetic diversity. Each species, varying from bacteria to higher plants and animals, stores an immense amount of genetic information. For example, the number of genes is about 450-700 in mycoplasma, 4,000 in bacteria, for example, Escherichia coli, 13,000 in fruit fly Drosophila melanogaster, 32,000 and 50,000 in Rhizoria sativa, 35,000 to 45,000 in human beings Homo sapiens sapiens. This variation of genes, not only of numbers but of structure also, is of great value as it enables a population to adapt to its environment and to respond to the process of natural selection. If a species has more genetic variation, it can adapt better to the changed environmental conditions. New genetic variation in individuals occurs by gene and chromosomal mutation, and in organisms with sexual reproduction may be spread across the population by recombination. For instance, two brothers differ in their structure, although their parents are the same. India has high genetic diversity and is regarded as a beloved center of high crop genetic diversity, so named after the Russian agrobotanist N.I. Vavilov, who identified 8 such centers of origin of cultivated plants around the world in the 1950s. Species diversity. Species diversity refers to the variety of species within a geographical area. Species diversity can be measured in terms of a species richness, refers to the number of various species in a defined area. B. Species abundance, refers to the relative numbers among species. For example, the number of species of plants, animals and microorganisms may be more in an area than that recorded in another area. C. Taxonomic or phylogenetic diversity, refers to the genetic relationships between different groups of species. Note at the global level, an estimated 1.7 million species of living organisms have been described to date and many more are yet to be discovered. It has been currently estimated that the total number of species may vary from 5 and 50 millions. India is a country of vast diversity, and it is among the 12 megadiversity countries in the world. Ecosystem diversity. It refers to the presence of different types of ecosystems. For instance, the tropical South India with rich species diversity will have altogether different structure compared to the desert ecosystem, which has far less number of plant and animal species. Likewise, the marine ecosystem, although has many types of fishes, yet it differs from the freshwater ecosystem of rivers and lakes in terms of its characteristics. So such variations at ecosystem level are termed as ecosystem diversity. India has very diverse terrestrial and aquatic ecosystems ranging from ice-capped Himalayas to deserts, from arid scrub to grassland to wetlands and tropical rainforests, from coral reefs to the deep sea. Each of these comprises a great variety of habitats and interactions between and within biotic and abiotic components. The most diversity-rich are Western Ghats and the northeastern region. A very large number of species found in these ecosystems are endemic, or found in these areas only in India, that is, they are found nowhere else except in India. The endemics are concentrated mainly in northeast, Western Ghats, northwest Himalaya, and Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Note about 33% of the flowering plants recorded in India are endemic to our country. Indian region is also notable for endemic fauna. For example, 53% freshwater fish, 60% amphibians, 36% reptiles, and 10% mammalian fauna are endemic. Hotspots of biodiversity. Biodiversity is not uniformly distributed across the geographical regions of the Earth. Certain regions of the world are very rich in biodiversity. We call such areas as mega diversity zones or hotspots. For example, India accounts for only 2.4% of the land area of the world, but it contributes approximately 8% species to the global diversity due to existence of such pockets. Norman Myers, a British ecologist, developed the concept of hotspots in 1988 to designate priority areas for in situ conservation. According to him, the hotspots are the richest and the most threatened reservoirs of biodiversity on the Earth. The criteria for determining a hotspot are: the area should support greater than 1,500 endemic species. It must have lost over 70% of the original habitat. Note 25 biodiversity hotspots have been identified in the world. These hotspots are characterized by posing exceptionally high biodiversity. For example, the total area of these 25 hotspots cover 1.4% of the total land area, support 44% of plant and 35% terrestrial vertebrates. Among the 25 hotspots of the world, 2 are found in India, namely Western Ghats and the Eastern Himalayas. These 2 areas of the country are exceptionally rich in flowering plants, reptiles, amphibians, butterflies and some species of mammals. The Eastern Himalayan hotspot extends to the north, eastern India and Bhutan. The temperate forests are found at an altitude of 1780 to 3,500 m. Many deep and semi-isolated valleys are exceptionally rich in endemic plant species. The Western Ghat hotspot lies parallel to the western coast of Indian Peninsula for almost 1,600 kilometers in Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Kerala. These forests at low elevation 500 meters above mean sea level are mostly evergreen, while those at 500-1,500 m height are generally semi-evergreen forests. Why is biological diversity important? The various benefits of biological diversity can be grouped under 3 categories. A. Ecosystem services. B. Biological resources. C. Social benefits. Ecosystem services. I. Protection of water resources. Natural vegetation cover helps in maintaining hydrological cycles, regulating and stabilizing water runoff and acting as a buffer against extreme events such as floods and droughts. Vegetation removal results in siltation of dams and waterways. Wetlands and forests act as water purifying systems, while mangroves trap silt, thereby reducing impacts on marine ecosystems. 2. Soil protection. Biological diversity helps in the conservation of soil and retention of moisture and nutrients. Clearing large areas of vegetation cover has been often seen to accelerate soil erosion, reduce its productivity, and often result in flash floods. Root systems allows penetration of water to the subsoil layer. Root system also brings mineral nutrients to the surface by nutrient uptake. 3. Nutrient storage and cycling. Ecosystem perform the vital function of recycling nutrients found in the atmosphere as well as in the soil. Plants are able to take up nutrients, and these nutrients then can form the basis of food chains, to be used by a wide range of life forms. Nutrients in the soil, in turn, is replenished by dead or waste matter, which is transformed by microorganisms. This may then feed others such as earthworms, which also mix and aerate the soil and make nutrients more readily available. For pollution reduction, ecosystems and ecological processes play an important role in maintenance of gaseous composition of the atmosphere, breakdown of wastes and removal of pollutants. Some ecosystems, especially wetlands, have the ability to breaking down and absorb pollutants. Natural and artificial wetlands are being used to filter effluents to remove nutrients, heavy metals, suspended solids, reduce the biological oxygen demand and destroy harmful microorganisms. Excessive quantities of pollutants, however, can be detrimental to the integrity of ecosystems and their biota. The climate stability vegetation influences climate at macro as well as micro levels. Growing evidence suggests that undisturbed forests help to maintain the rainfall in the vicinity by recycling water vapor at a steady rate back into the atmosphere. Vegetation also exerts moderating influence on microclimate. Cooling effect of vegetation is a common experience which makes living comfortable. Some organisms are dependent on such microclimates for their existence. 6. Maintenance of ecological processes. Different species of birds and predators help to control insect pests, thus reduce the need and cost of artificial control measures. Birds and nectarine-loving insects, which roost and breed in natural habitats, are important pollinating agents of crop and wild plants. Some habitats protect crucial life stages of wildlife populations, such as spawning areas in mangroves and wetlands. Without ecological services provided by biodiversity, it would not be possible to get food, pure air to breathe, and would be submerged in the waste produced biological resources. Food, fiber, medicines, fuel, wood and ornamental plants. 5,000 plant species are known to have been used as food by humans. Presently about 20 species feed the majority of the world's population, and just 3 or 4 only are the major staple crops. The majority of population in the world. A large number of plants and animals materials are used for the treatment of various ailments. The usage of medicinal plants in India has an ancient history, dating back to the pre-Vedic culture, at least 4,000 years. BC. The therapeutic values of herbal medicines led to evolution of Ayurveda, which means science of life. It is estimated that at least 70% of the country's population rely on herbal medicines, and over 7,000 species of plants are used for medicinal purposes. Wood is a basic commodity used worldwide for making furniture and for building purposes. Firewood is the primary source of fuel widely used in third world countries. Wood and bamboo are used for making paper. Plants are the traditional source of fiber, such as coir, hemp, flax, cotton, jute. 2. Breeding material for crop improvement. Wild relatives of cultivated crop plants contain valuable genes that are of immense genetic value in crop improvement programs. Genetic material or genes of wild crop plants are used to develop new varieties of cultivated crop plants for restructuring of the existing ones, for improving yield or resistance of crops plants. For example, rice grown in Asia is protected from 4 main diseases by genes contributed by a single wild rice variety. 3 future resources. There is a clear relationship between the conservation of biological diversity and the discovery of new biological resources. The relatively few developed plant species currently cultivated have had a large amount of research and selective breeding applied to them. Many presently underutilized food crops have the potential to become important crops in the future. Knowledge of the uses of wild plants by the local people is often a source for ideas on developing new plant products. Social benefits. Recreation, forests, wildlife, national parks and sanctuaries, garden and aquaria have high entertainment and recreation value. Ecotourism, photography, painting, film, making and literary activities are closely related. 2. Cultural values. Plants and animals are an important part of the cultural life of humans. Human cultures have co-evolved with their environment, and biological diversity can impart a distinct cultural identity to different communities. Uniqueness of Indian biodiversity and associated regional specificity. India is uniquely rich in all aspects of biodiversity, including ecosystem, species and genetic biodiversity. For any one country in the world, it has perhaps the largest array of environmental situations by virtue of its tropical location, varied physical features, and climate types. India has the widest variety of ecosystems. With only 2.4% of the land area, India accounts for 7-8% of the recorded species of the world. More than 45,000 species of plants and 81,000 species of animals are found in India. India is also one of the 8 primary centers of origin of cultivated plants and has a rich agricultural biodiversity. The Trans-Himalayan region with its sparse vegetation has the richest wild sheep and goat community in the world. The snow leopard Panthera uncia and black-necked crane Grus nigriculus are found here. The great Indian busted Ardiotis nigriceps, which is highly endangered bird, is found in Gujarat region, rich in extensive grasslands. Northeast India is one of the richest regions of biodiversity in the country. It is especially rich in orchids, bamboos, ferns, citrus, banana, mango and jute. India is also rich in coral reefs. Major reef formations in Indian seas occur in the Gulf of Mannar, Pork Bay, Gulf of Kutch, the Andaman and Nicobar Islands and the Lake Shadweep. The threat to mangroves trees growing in marshy lands and coral reefs comes from the biotic pressure such as extraction for market demands, fishing, land use changes in surrounding areas, and from pollution.